Friday. Today, we're going to finish the Magic Tree House Dolphins at Daybreak. So, we'll read the last few chapters. While I'm reading, I want you to think about a summary. Today, you will not write that summary because we have a super special project to do, but you will take a video and you're going to need to know what the most important part of these chapters are. Let's go ahead and read. Chapter 9. Ouch! The sun shone on the ocean. It sparkled like a diamond. Jack felt safe now. The dolphins were taking good care of them. The dolphins slowed down as they neared the reef. Jack lowered his feet. He felt the bumpy coral. He let go of the dolphin's fin and stood up in the water. Annie stood too. Then she threw her arms around the dolphin and gave her a big hug. "Thank you, Suki," she cried, and she kissed the dolphin's nose. Suki tossed her head back and clicked at Annie. "Kiss Sam now," Annie said Jack. "You're nuts," said Jack, but Sam nuzzled his head up to Jack. Then he put his flippers around Jack's neck. Jack couldn't resist. He threw his arm around the dolphin and gave him a quick kiss. Sam nodded and made clicking noises like laughter. Then he returned to Suki. The two dolphins chattered to each other for a moment. They nodded at Jack and Annie and swam gracefully away. "Bye, Suki. Bye, Sam," Annie shouted. "Thank you," Jack shouted. The dolphins leapt higher into the air. Then they dove into the water with a big splash. Does anyone know what that's called? Remember when they jump way high out and come back down and splash? Breaching. Good. Jack and Annie laughed. "I wish we could swim like that," said Jack. Jack and Annie watched the dolphins until they disappeared. "I miss them already," Annie said softly. "Me too," said Jack. He sat down in the shallow water. "I'm really tired," he said. Annie sat beside him. "Me too." The warm water lapped around their shorts and t-shirts. Jack pulled off his pack. He took out his glasses and put them on. They were blurry with water. "Guess what?" said Annie. "What?" said Jack. "I saw the shark when we were swimming," Annie said. "But I didn't tell you because I wanted you to stay calm." Jack stared at her. "I saw the shark too. I just swam faster so you would swim faster." "And I swam faster so you would go faster," said Annie. "I guess we swam double fast then," said Jack. He shook his head with wonder. "What now?" said Annie. "We go home," said Jack. "But we haven't solved Morgan's riddle yet," said Annie. Jack sighed. He pulled his notebook out of his backpack. It was soaked. He pulled out the ocean book. It was soaked too. "We've failed," he said. "My research is all wet and we'll never be master librarians now." Jack put everything away. "Let's go," he said sadly. He stood up and he stared across the pink reef towards the treehouse. Annie followed him. "Ouch," she said. "What's wrong?" Jack looked back. "I stepped on something." Annie bent down to rub her foot. "What?" said Jack. "A shell?" "Yeah, this." She picked up a large gray shell. "Boy, is it rough and gray as a rock." "And plain as can be," whispered Jack. "They found the answer." The shell looked like the clam shell, only bigger and with more ridges. "How could this ugly shell be the answer to the riddle?" said Annie. "What's the part that says there's great beauty inside?" "Wait. Research." He opened up his soaked ocean book. The pages were stuck together, but he was able to turn a few. He found a picture of the gray shell. He read, "Divers search for oysters in deep water, but sometimes oysters wash up on reefs or beaches. Inside some oysters, you can find a pearl. The pearl's natural beauty makes it a treasure. It must have a pearl inside." Annie peered into the crack between the two halves of the shell. "I can't see anything," she said. "How does a pearl get in there anyways?" Jack read aloud from the wet pages. "Sometimes a grain of sand will get stuck between the oyster shell and its skin. This irritates the oyster, so it makes the pearly material to surround the grain of sand. In this way, over a few years, a pearl is formed. I can't tell if there's a pearl in there or not. Maybe we should bang it against a rock, said Jack. Now that would really irritate the oyster, said Annie. Yeah, maybe we should just leave it alone, said Annie. She gently placed the oyster back on the water. But how will we know if the oyster is the right answer to the riddle? Said Jack. Morgan said, we'll know, said Annie. Come on. Jack pushed his glasses back into place. Then he and Annie picked up their shoes and socks. They climbed through the window of the treehouse. Morgan's scroll was laying on the floor. It was open. Look, said Annie. She and Jack stared at the scroll. The riddle had faded away. In its place was a shimmering silver word, oyster. Morgan is magic, whispered Annie. Jack let out a huge sigh. We got it right, he said. And here's the Pennsylvania book, said Annie. Let's go home. She opened the book and pointed to the picture of Frog Creek Woods and said, I wish we could go here, she said. The wind started to blow and the treehouse started to spin faster and faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 10. The True Pearl. Dawn light slanted into the treehouse. No time had passed since they left. Day was still breaking. Jack rolled up the ancient scroll and he tucked it into the corner. We solved the first riddle, he said. 3 more to go. I don't see another scroll, said Annie. Maybe tomorrow we'll get another riddle? That's okay, said Jack. I think I maybe need to rest and dry out. His t-shirt and shorts were still soaked. His backpack, too. Only his shoes and socks were dry. And this needs to dry out, too, said Annie. She put the wet ocean book out in the sunlight. Then Jack and Annie climbed down the ladder. They walked through the woods, through the leafy shadows and the golden light. They left the woods and started down their street. You know, we should have found the answer to the riddle right away, said Jack. The oyster was on the reef all along. I know, but then we wouldn't have had so much fun, said Annie. Fun? Said Jack. You call being squeezed by an octopus and chased by a shark? Don't forget about the dolphins, Annie said simply. Jack smiled. Right, he said. The dolphins made up for everything. They were fun. I guess they were the true pearl in the oyster, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. I wonder what Sam is doing right now. Sam? Annie grinned at him. You're nuts, she said. They climbed their steps and went into their home. We're back, shouted Annie. Did you get your shoes wet? Their mom called. Not one bit, called Jack. Then he and Annie slipped upstairs to change their clothes. Okay, sweet friends, that is the end of Dolphins at Daybreak. Today, I want you to go to the writing video, and Ms. Jacobs will give you instructions for what we're doing today. Your writing is going to look a little bit different than it has on the other days because we're doing a special project. So make sure you check that video out.